Hey guys, this is Warren from Pattern Journal and welcome back to another hobby journal video. Today we are going to be talking about something that is really fun and something that is, something that is, I would say, a little close to my heart, but I've just kind of avoided doing much about it. This is of course, I'm going to talking about this thing, the Space Marine Drop Pod. Now, as you all may know, this thing is like almost 20 years old now, probably a little bit more. And, it is something that has been iconic for Space Marines in the lore. It is iconic for Space Marines on the tabletop. But of course, the rules in recent years, they've not been particularly good for these guys. So they don't get much screen time. But nothing beats the iconic image of the Space Marine drop pod assault, whether that's in Warhammer 40,000 or it's in Warhammer 30,000, because drop pods, just by their very nature, they change the entire dynamic of how Space Marines function in a war. And the reason I'm talking to you guys about this is because just a couple of days ago, GW announced on Warhammer Community that this iconic kit is getting an update. It is one of the most recent things to get an update. For the last few years, they've been working on different things. For 10th edition, Terminators got an upgrade, the shooty Terminators or tactical Terminators, as some may call them, and the Stern Guard veterans, they got an update. And of course, there are lots of people who are looking for updates for Vanguard veterans, which I am quite excited for, but I am just not a fan of those big bulbous Primaris jump packs. It's like they just look bad to me. But either way, that's all besides the point. The reason I'm talking is, like I said, the Space Marine drop pod is getting an update very soon. And I'm going to put a picture of that on the screen right now, somewhere around here. And here's the thing, right? They announced that, this is going to be so much different from the current kit because, for one, it's going to be bigger, of course. And second, unlike this old bad boy, the doors will not be able to close. They will be locked in the open position. And, that's because they say there have been so many disagreements over the years where, people try to game the footprint of the drop pod and, just that kind of stuff, which I find yeah, that's like one of these competitive gaming things that just ruins the hobby for different people. Now, I'm not a big believer in that whole theory because I believe that people put too much stock into what competitive players do. And instead of, just like if you're casual, just find yourself a casual environment. I know it's not easy. I myself suffer from this, but at least try. And, just not go with the same tired old arguments that, oh, competitive gaming is ruining the hobby and so on and so forth. The reason this matters is because Games Workshop has made a deliberate change to how a model kit is built and how it works on the tabletop because of competitive gaming. That I think is an issue. And they say that this is because of the footprint gaming thing and all that, but it used to be so fiddly and everything, and we just want to make things easier. But Games Workshop, guys, come on. If it's stuck in the open position with all the flaps just hanging out, it's going to be a massive pain to transport. And that I believe is one of the main reasons people are annoyed with the new drop pod. You can see it on the screen here. And also just because, it's not for Primaris, and it's more Primarisification that perhaps didn't need that. You can see on the on the drop pod that the place where the Astartes, the Space Marines, where they fit into their slots for the descent, it has the shape is cut out for the Primaris backpacks with the small bulges and everything, and that's just and it also looks to be bigger. But apart from that, what does excite me is that they didn't just take it away and give us something different entirely, like what they've done with Primaris in the first, second, third, and fourth waves or whatever, until we got to this edition, which is where they give us updates to old units rather than making entirely new Primaris units. And whether that's worked out well or not, for the Blood Angels, they lost so much with the Death Company, with the new Death Company, the new Sanguinary Guard, whereas you look at the Space Wolves and they're getting so much cool stuff that just fits their aesthetic better. It's not just a straight primersification of things. It's like, we are gonna respect what came before and improve on that rather than just do something entirely new and whatever, or just like here have this clean, aesthetically clean, industrially manufactured look or whatever. Which, yeah, that's kind of the point in Warhammer 40,000, that everything is so standardized. But again, in the context of Space Marines, it's an entirely different question. But anyways, regardless of that, I am really happy, like I said, that the drop pod is getting an update. I think it's a fantastic decision for them. But just some things that they should have, taken care to respect more of the casual hobby side, because the largest part of the hobby is all the casual people. And there may be like 500 events, competitive events, that kick off every single week across the world, but you look beyond that and the casual part of the community is still very huge. And so GW making a decision based on that aspect of the hobby rather than the casual one, I think that's a huge mistake. But there are some cool things with the drop pod now, such as the fact that now it has rubble uh, underneath the drop pod and the flaps, because everything is getting a tactical rock these days. Why leave the drop pod out of it? The drop pod has its own tactical rock, and they said that it's modular, so I believe the article says that you don't need to model it with that, which is also okay. That's a nice decision. If, however you want to do it, it's accommodated and everything. But yeah, I think that's pretty good. Normally, I don't do one-off videos like this, but I felt that in this case, this was really warranted. And again, this is part of the hobby journal, so we're not just gonna talk about what the new reveal is, what that all looks like. Like I said, I have this. I've had it for like, I don't know, 6 years now, probably more. And what I wanted to do is, I just have not. You hear all these, horror stories about how this old kid, how difficult it is to work with, and it's a pain to build and everything. And that is one of the reasons why I didn't work on it, even though I love drop pods as like as a unit. I love them in the lore and everything. But let's crack open the thing right now and actually check what the date of manufacturing on this is, which I mean the date when the molds were created and this thing started selling. It gives you a rough idea, and that's going to lead into another video that I'm going to do later today. That's also going to be a fun video, something that's much dearer to my heart than just this humble drop pod. So okay, so we've opened this. There are 2 sprues. I know it seems silly to do an unboxing video for something that's been out for like 20 years or more, but okay, so let's see. Do they give us the date anywhere on the sprue or the year? Oh yes, they do. Oh yeah, here we go. If you look right here, there we go. Games Workshop 2008. So almost 20 years old. This thing is 17 years old actually. And that reminds me, the reason I remember a drop pod being so good is I believe I had a drop pod during 5th edition, because 2008 was when 5th edition of 40K launched. I'd started the hobby just a few months earlier, the tail end of 40K. The Orc Codex had just dropped. And they made a huge push for a revitalized Space Marine line in that era. They gave us the Thunderfire cannon. They gave us the, I believe, the big Tech Marine with, the 4 servo arms and everything, and the servitors. The Thunderfire cannon came out that time. The Metal Stern Guard came out at that time. The Metal Vanguard veterans came out at that time. There was so much stuff that came out. And of course, the Assault on Blackreach set, which is like, I believe, one of the absolute best starter sets they've ever made for 40K. Doesn't matter that there's been so much plastic in the edition starter sets that came out after that, like Dark Vengeance for 6th, like Dark Imperium for 8th, Indomitus for 9th, and now Leviathan for 10th. I don't know what came out for 7th. I'm actually not sure on that one. But regardless of how much plastic, because that thing was a huge jump from going from 4th with just 1 Space Marine tactical squad and just like a squad of Termagants, and a squad of Gene Stealers. Going from that to Assault on Black Reach, which had tactical squads. It has Dreadnought. It has a new captain. It has Terminators. And for orcs, there were boys. There were choppers. Not choppers. What are they called? The Defcopters, the helicopters. And I don't know what else orcs had, because I got 2 boxes. I traded away all the orcs, and I was left with the Space Marine stuff. But yeah, that was such a huge jump. And this drop pod, the plastic drop pod, came out at that time. Now I remember, seeing that. You can see, like, this thing, like, it's amazing, right? The amount of detail they've packed in. And oh, look, you see these? I've had these bits for quite a while now. I got them from my LGS bit store, bits box, like years ago. And I had no idea where they came from. I was like so happy to find them in the box. I was like, wow, this is like super cool. And, well, there it goes. This is where they come from. And, we're looking at the sprue. It reminds me now. They said in the article, and you can look at the image of the drop pod as well, it will not have weapons anymore. There's not going to be a storm bolter. There's not going to be a Deathwind missile launcher. And actually, let me check right now if on the article they say whether there's going to be a different version of that or not, because I think that's like, key. So, yeah, they say, these were safety hazards. They've been removed. And yeah. So yeah, it's just straight up gone. The offensive capability of this thing is gone, which, the Storm Bolter and the missile launcher, they don't add a whole lot to the arsenal, but it is something, right? This thing, it comes down, it's a permanent terrain feature after that, and, you cannot charge out of it, so you cannot drop an assault unit, with it. It has to be a shooty unit, like Stern Guard, like Hellblasters, or, something else that you fancy, but, and it costs a lot of points. So thinking generally among the people is that, everywhere, is that, maybe it's going to get a points reduction to make it more worthwhile to use. Primaries can wholesale go into this. So, maybe also they allow us to charge out of it, or maybe it's going to be, instead of dropping 9 inches away, turn 1, it's going to drop 6 inches away or something. The thing has a huge footprint. So screening that out is very easy. So it would make sense if they let us drop it in closer to an enemy unit. So 6 inches would help with that. And, if it's a shooting unit that you're putting inside, doesn't matter if it's 6 inches or 9 inches away, they're still going to come out blasting. But they're just, something like, multi-melters or whatever, that may change the math on that a little bit. But anyways, guys, so that's that. The drop pod, the humble drop pod, 17-year-old kid. It's going to be going away very soon. Which, whenever something goes away from Space Marines, there's always this deep-seated regret in me. When I came back for 10th edition after a break of like 2 years, 3 years, I pretty much skipped out almost all of 9th edition. Blood Angels tactical squads were gone. The Death Company kits went away last year. The Sanguinary Guard kit went away last year. We've lost so much. The Storm Guard kit went away with 10th edition. The Shooty Terminators went away with 10th edition. And I still had so many gaps in my armies, where I needed the specific units. And I've been slowly working on fixing that, but, it's not been easy at all. But yeah, anyways, absolutely love this. I have to build this now, I'm unfortunately going away for a few days. I'll be back on Sunday. So that's going to be the first build project I do when I come back. But you can be rest assured that, I'm going to get this thing built in honor of it leaving. And if I happen to, at some point pick up some more old kits for drop pods, I'll definitely look out for that, because yes, they are a pain, but as someone who has worked with Firstborn for such a long time, who loves working with Firstborn, if a kid's fiddly, I don't mind it. Ultimately, it's a lot about how much fun I get out of the whole process, no matter how frustrating it can be. Like cleaning mold lines of a Land Raider off the old tactical squads, that's a pain, man. And that's a capital Pain pain. But yeah, so that's that. And there's going to be another video going up very soon. So be on the lookout for that. And that's going to be a super fun one. And you'll see that I'm much more passionate in that one because, again, something very iconic, something much more close to my heart. And yeah, we're going to talk about that. So anyways, that's me signing off, guys. See you soon. Bye. Cheers. Have a good time.